Emotional manipulation can be incredibly dangerous, especially when strong family bonds are involved. When the bond is tight, you might be surprised at what someone could be convinced to do for their manipulator. This often happens within families, where one member uses psychological tactics to control another, exploiting trust and loyalty. The manipulator usually has some authority or influence, making it easier to take advantage of the deep connections and sense of duty family members feel towards each other. In today's case, we'll look at a specific family where manipulation led to murder, showing just how destructive familial influence can be when used for harmful purposes. This is the story of the Suh family. It was an autumn night in 1993 when gunshots echoing from the garage of a Chicago home marked the beginning of a notorious and complex murder investigation. The cold, bleak September night in the sleepy neighborhood of Bucktown was rocked by the sound of gunfire. The shots were traced to the garage of a modest two-flat owned by Robert O. Dubain, a local bar owner. Robert O. Dubain's blood-soaked body was found with 2 bullet wounds, and his wallet and keys were missing. News of Robert O. Dubain's murder spread rapidly through Bucktown and beyond. Investigators swarmed the scene, but the garage, where the gunshots were heard, offered no clues about what had happened. O. Dubain's Jeep Wrangler was later found abandoned on a residential street, but it provided no key evidence to help solve the case. Complicating matters further was the disappearance of O. Dubain's live-in girlfriend and business partner, Catherine Suh. Her whereabouts were unknown, and it was unclear if she had any knowledge of the incident. And interestingly, Catherine's brother Andrew had signed out of college on the day of the murder. His roommate informed investigators that Andrew had gone home to take care of family business and didn't return. How did this all happen exactly? The Suh family had immigrated from Korea in the 1970s. They consisted of a mother, father, and 2 children. They lived traditionally with the values and strictness typical of Asian parenting. The patriarch of the family, Ronald Suh, was the most traditional and could be quite intimidating to the children. He had a military background and came from an elite family, which likely reinforced his strictness. The children were raised with tough love. Everything seemed fine for the family until a tragedy struck. Their eldest son had an accident and lost his life. This was particularly devastating for Elizabeth Suh, the children's mother, as her husband demanded she give him another son. In many Asian families, especially at that time, a son, particularly the eldest, was valued more than a daughter. Elizabeth, who was in her 40s, had serious doubts about her ability to conceive again. Nevertheless, she obliged because she was determined to stay with her family and was always afraid of getting divorced. To become pregnant, she tried everything from fertility treatments to fertility medications. She eventually became pregnant and gave birth to a boy, Andrew Suh, thus achieving the desired outcome. The family immigrated to the United States in 1976 and settled on the northwest side of Chicago. Catherine and Andrew Suh were children when their family moved from South Korea. As the only somewhat English-speaking members of the family, they acted as translators for their parents and helped them navigate their new life overseas. With hard work and determination, the Suhs opened a successful laundry business to support themselves, but never forgot the values they held dear in their home country. Despite the struggles they faced as immigrants, the Suh family remained close-knit. The children were taught the importance of family, respect, and obedience. However, their father's love was often perceived as tough and strict, with high expectations for his children's behavior and performance. These values would later play a significant role in their lives. Andrew was especially obedient, while his older sister was more rebellious. As she entered her teenage years, Catherine began to push back against the traditional Korean family values instilled by her parents. Her sense of rebellion started small, with questions and resistance to her parents' demands. As she grew older, these rebellious urges only grew stronger, leading to lies and escapes from the family home. She was drawn to a lifestyle that differed from her family's traditional expectations, seeking freedom and independence from the structures of their Korean heritage. Her brother Andrew, on the other hand, embraced their values. As the youngest of the two siblings, Andrew grew up with his parents' traditional values instilled in him from a young age, with a strong emphasis on family and respect. Throughout his teenage years, Andrew was the model son, helping out in the family's laundry business and going above and beyond what was expected of him. He was his parents' favorite child, which only served to drive a wedge between him and Catherine. A tragic moment struck the Suh household when Mr. Ronald Suh was diagnosed with stomach cancer, leaving his wife and youngest son Andrew to care for him during his final days. Andrew would make his father breakfast in bed and help him with daily tasks, while his mother looked after him during the day. They both tried their best to make him comfortable, knowing their time together was limited. As the oldest child, Catherine might have been expected to play a bigger role in caring for her father, but she was nowhere to be found. She reportedly never came to see her father during his illness, perhaps feeling that she could finally escape the demands of their traditional family structure. After Ronald passed away, all the parenting burden fell on Elizabeth Suh. Unlike her husband, Elizabeth was more nurturing and tried her best to understand her children. She gave Catherine chances and even allowance money when she went out. When Catherine met a guy 7 years older than her at a fitness center when she was only 16, Elizabeth didn't intervene much. This guy was Robert O'Dubain. Everything seemed to be settling down for the kids, but not for long. Several years later, Elizabeth Suh was brutally murdered, and it appeared to be a robbery gone horribly wrong. Andrew was terrified, but his sister Catherine, who was 18 at the time, did her best to calm him down and explain what had happened. Robert O'Dubain, who had been close friends with the Suh family for years, was also at the house. He helped Andrew through the initial shock and provided comfort and assistance. As investigators began to unravel the mystery of Elizabeth Suh's murder, it became clear that the crime had been personal, a crime of passion. Who had the motive and opportunity to commit such a heinous act, and what were their intentions? Nevertheless, the murder went unsolved, as everyone, including the Suh children, had alibis. Andrew, being young, fell under the care of his sister, with $800,000 in insurance money from his mother's account. Together, Catherine and O'Dubain worked tirelessly to build a successful future for their family. Fueled by the insurance payout received after Elizabeth Suh's murder, they used the funds to open a successful bar called Club Metropolis, which quickly became the talk of the town. Andrew, a studious high school student, eventually earned a full scholarship to Providence College, where he studied economics and Japanese, setting himself up for a bright and promising future. As Catherine and Robert O'Dubain's relationship grew stronger, the couple eventually decided to move in together. This decision had a significant impact on Andrew Suh, who was still young and desperately in need of a father figure. O'Dubain, a longtime friend of the family, quickly became the new father figure in Andrew's life, providing guidance and support as the young boy navigated the challenges of adolescence. However, despite their good relationship, neither O'Dubain nor Andrew could have anticipated the darkness that loomed, with a crime that would shatter their lives forever and lead them down a dark path. During his college days, Andrew would occasionally receive calls from Catherine, who confided in him about her relationship problems. One day, Catherine invited Andrew to lunch and allegedly told him that O'Dubain had been treating her badly, and that it was also a secret. She claimed that O'Dubain had killed their mother, revealing that it was her idea, but she didn't expect him to actually go through with it. Catherine continued, telling Andrew that she couldn't leave O'Dubain because he would tell the police it was her idea, yet she was sick of being abused by him. Hearing this, Andrew was filled with a sense of anger and a duty to protect his sister. Seeing her brother's fury, Catherine pitched the idea of killing O'Dubain. Unable to make any logical decision in his emotional state, Andrew agreed with his sister and prepared for the act. After returning to the house, Catherine told him to bring a change of clothes and wear only black. Following her instructions to locate a gun in the garage attic, he waited for hours until Robert was persuaded to enter the garage by Catherine's call. O'Dubain was on the phone with his new girlfriend, while Catherine was in a pub in Glenview, Illinois, also spending time with her own boyfriend. The two had an open relationship where they could see other people. O'Dubain then received a call from Catherine, informing him that her car had broken down and she needed his help. Before he could get the car out of the garage, the first shot was fired. Andrew then shot the body again to make sure O'Dubain was dead. He jumped into the Jeep, ditched it, and hailed a cab, and went on the run. He was later apprehended and asked for his sister. Catherine Suh, on the other hand, ran away as far as she could. Despite not showing up for her trial, she was able to post bail and communicate with her attorneys regularly. The court continued with the trial without her and issued a warrant for her arrest. Following a 2-hour jury trial, Catherine was declared guilty of both armed robbery and first-degree murder. If she were ever located, she would serve a life term in prison. Where was she? After running away, Catherine continued her deception in Hawaii. During this time, she convinced a surfer boyfriend to buy her a fashionable condo. Following her appearance on the television program, America's Most Wanted, in January 1996, Catherine became tired of running and turned herself in to the FBI in Honolulu in March of the same year. Ever since then, she has been serving her life sentence. The police heard the accounts from Andrew and realized the situation. Andrew Suh was deceived by his own sister, who wanted O'Dubain's insurance money, which was around $250,000. Some people felt sympathy for Andrew, a man who had never committed a crime before. But it was still a murder, and Andrew Suh was sentenced to 80 years in prison. He was said to be behaving well in prison, doing interviews and hoping for another chance in life. In January 2024, Andrew Suh, 30 years after killing his sister's fiancé in a dramatic Chicago crime that sparked a global manhunt, was released from a Western Illinois jail. He had completed rehabilitative programs made possible by the new state statute. Along with his attorney, he was greeted by 6 supporters and appeared delighted to be leaving prison to begin a new life. Andrew was grateful to an attorney named Sungmin Kim, who was more than happy to provide him with a place to stay. Although O'Dubain's murder was solved and the Suh siblings were convicted, Elizabeth's murder remains unsolved. Over the years, suspicions have lingered regarding Catherine's possible involvement in Elizabeth's death. Andrew Suh later expressed his belief that his sister was responsible for their mother's murder, motivated by a desire to inherit an $800,000 life insurance policy. However, no charges have been filed against Catherine Suh concerning her mother's death. All the suspects provided convincing alibis, raising the question of whether the case was truly a robbery gone wrong. In recent years, authorities have re-examined previously collected crime scene evidence to identify the murderer. However, they recently informed the media that no actionable leads came from the tests, and the case remains officially unsolved. The story of the Suh siblings is almost forgotten by the media. So what are your thoughts on this case? Do you think Andrew Suh deserves a second chance to do good in the world? Do you believe Catherine was responsible for her mother's death in some way? Let me know in the comments below. Let's discuss. That is all for today. Thank you for watching.